Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, we've returned to open session, and at this time, the board needs to certify the following statement. To the best of the members' knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted in the motion by which the closed session was called was considered or discussed in the closed session.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Jesse, second by Mr. Bill Harris. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Jesse? Yes. Mr. Williams? Yes. Mr. Bill Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Crittenden?
Yes.
Mr. Don Harris?
Yes. Motion carried. We're now going to be in a regular session again. And we've jumped around a little bit, so just bear with me a second. Where are we? Okay. All right. Mr. Kretz, you want to talk about the public hearing? Here we go.
So we only have one application tonight, the special exception 2024-01 submitted by Jonathan L. Yates on behalf of Milestone Towers and Verizon Wireless. The request is for approval of a special exception to permit the construction of a public communications facility, which includes installation of a tower and associated facilities pursuant to Article 7, Section 7-3.17 of the Middlesex County zoning ordinance. The property for which the special exception is being sought is identified as tax map parcel 19-44B. Is located adjacent to 2005 Warner Road, Urbana, Virginia, in the Jamaica District. Just a brief narrative on the property. This will be a roughly 100 by 100 lease area in the middle of roughly 41 acres, 42 acres. It's currently in agriculture. It's a vacant property. There's no improvements on it other than the fact it's agriculture. Comprehensive plan lists the future land use as agricultural conservation. You have a little bit of varied uses around it, residential and agricultural. Some vacant property, most all of it obviously is zoned low-density rural. This is the general location of the property. It's located near the intersection of Warner Road and Old Virginia Street. The tower will be roughly located in the center of that parcel that's highlighted. You can see it lines up really close with Remlick Drive. And this is the future land use map. The other was the current zoning. And this is just an overview showing how the property, you can see it's in agriculture. A balloon test was done prior to the planning commission meeting back in summer. There was a little windy that day, so the balloon was laid over somewhat, but you can see that the height is not that necessarily that high. That's about the middle of that circle. It's about where the tower would be located. This shows the general location, shows the distances from the property lines and the right-of-ways. That red lined area is the leased area. And this is a blow-up showing the leased area along with the right-of-way that comes out on Warner Road. There's a little bit better overview, shows the location of the drive, distances to property lines, that type of thing. This is a kind of a detail of the leased area. Some early comments centered around the landscaping around it. This will sit in the middle of about a 40-acre field. I think it's 400 to 500 feet from any property line, so I don't think the visual, that's about a football field and a half almost, so I don't think there's going to be a lot that you'll be able to see anyway. But we went back in the applicant, up the landscaping and doubled up that screening. Those will be some type of evergreens that'll screen the property. Just some basic details. It's a monopole. We've become accustomed to seeing those. And again, here's a blow-up of the leased area along with the internal part. The internal part would be the fenced-in area. This is the structural analysis. The staff report really went into detail about this, showing details. But they did up the wind speed to accommodate emergency services equipment if necessary. Of course, we know why we're here. It's approval or consideration of special exception to construct a public communications facility. And this was in your board packet as well. Just, I'm not going to go through this, but this was the criteria that's in the board packet.
Oh, it's in a separate book.
We separated the books this time because they were so full.
Oh,
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 Would
did I?
would any board members like me to go back to any of those
Okay.
visuals? Are you
No
guys
problem.
okay? Okay.
Mr. Gretz, I do have one question for you.
Yes.
And going back, can you go back to the one where you were depicting the trees?
Yes.
That one right there?
Yes.
And in this diagram where I see the trees, it's on the left hand of my screen. Yeah, the left, right there. Who owns the property on the other side? Is it all owned by the same
Well,
person?
it's all owned by the same property owner.
So
That's
there's-
basically screening the right-of-way and the vacant properties. If you look, if I go back to the aerial. You can see that stand of trees is gonna screen it, that'll screen it from Old Virginia Street, and that hill goes down. From Old Virginia Street, you'd never see the fence anyway.
I was
due to
just
the hill.
thinking about that case that you and I are working on with the trees close to the property line. I was just curious who was the other property owner?
No,
Yeah.
I believe the property owner is here tonight. She
Okay.
she could probably explain.
Okay, no,
details.
I thought, I saw that and thought you and I maybe should make
Yeah.
sure that we're,
Yeah.
thank you, I apologize for interrupting
Oh,
your
you're
presentation.
fine. You're fine. So, yeah, and that's existing screening. I think that screening's been put into, if you looked at the right of that picture, there's no natural vegetation along Warner or to the left. So that's what that screening would be. So again, this is just your special exception criteria. It's pretty basic. There's nothing that would conflict the general requirements for a special exception. All complies. And based on the analysis above, this special exception request is in substantial conformance with the requirements of Section 7.3, 17, and 7-4, Section 20-5B, and Article 14, which is the airport overlay. There's no height obstructions. All of these are in compliance with the zoning ordinance. This project will require major site plan approval. That's what we've customarily done with these facilities, which includes but is not limited to approval for Virginia Department of Transportation for entrances. And of course, they'll need a land disturbance permit for construction of it. Staff recommends approval of the application with the following conditions. The use shall meet the criteria stated there, and the approval should be subject to final major site plan approval. The Planning Commission voted 8-2 with one abstention to recommend approval. I'll note that the two objections were based on, there was no objection to the tower location in and of itself. Those two objections were focused on possibly some extra screening being put in. But the majority of the planning commission didn't see that as being necessary, given the distance and what was being proposed. So with that, you have a staff recommendation and you have a planning commission recommendation. And with that, I have nothing else to add. If the board has any questions of me while I'm up here, I'll be glad to answer them.
I got one. The 42 acres, all that's low-density rural,
Yes, sir.
and the acres that's being leased is .2296.
Yes, sir, it's 100 by 100, plus the additional area for a right-of-way.
If they wanted to, could they change that back to land use after the tower get built?
That's a question for the assessor's office. That would be May's call on that.
But they can't do it then.
I don't
I
think
just
they
wonder.
can for the tower property because it's not a qualifying use. It's not farming, forestry, or open space at that point.
Yeah.
Now, the other land around it, if they continue to farm it, then that would probably be eligible. But again, that's a call for the commission.
Yeah.
But right now, it's in low-density rural.
It's low-density rural, but I don't know if it's in land use for taxation. The property owner is here tonight, you could ask. her
Oh, that's
that
one question I definitely want to answer
Yeah.
to.
Now, that's a de minimis amount of area compares.
It's a
total
big
40
area.
acres.
It's 42 acres, and you only got to lease out basically .3 acres. And I guess I heard these towers that they put on it, used to be a I thought it was a 5-acre area that they put the towers on themselves. Is the one in Hartfield like that, 5 acres? that
No,
they-
most of them are about 100 by 100 is a standard lease.
But then around it was something like,
Well, I think in this
You-
case, it's a 50 by 50 compound with a fenced-in area with another 25 around it for screening and landscaping and that type of.
because I must misunderstood, and I think the person that was telling me said, well, you need 5 acres to put something like this on, but that'll add up about right, I guess.
Well, it's possible that they would want a larger piece to kind of keep it in the center. Just, although the leased area is small, and there again, the applicant is here, he may
Right.
be able to answer some of those questions better than I can, as far as property selection, that type of thing.
No, I'm familiar with the property. It's so far off the road in the woods, and it's farmland all around in front of it, as you can see. And them 41 acres, I've been knowing the family, and I know the applicant
I don't know.
up there in that area. I can tell you, there's no homes around it.
Well, I just want to know, is it in land use?
Well, probably, I know the landowner would know, but probably it is in land use because it's been a farm ever since I can remember.
Yeah, it's being farmed.
So I'm almost sure they farm that every year.
And the piece that they put in the tower on is in, no, I'm talking about, that'll be low-density rural.
Yeah, well, the whole
They couldn't put it
property-
on land uses.
The
They
whole
could-
property is low-density rural. That's the zoning district. The
Okay.
Land use is a taxation component.
That's what I'm looking at, the
Yeah.
taxation
Yes, sir.
component. And what I'm saying is that the area that they're leasing out, if it's in low-density rural, that means that the taxes on it is different from land usage. Or farmland, what we call it, one of them don't pay no taxes at all, and the other one will be paying tax on the spot where the tower be. I just wondered which way it's going.
Right.
I'd just like to know, I mean, I probably wouldn't even vote for it if everything around it was land usage and where the tower was at, because I don't think that's right. And I just want to know.
I guess
I
it's
don't care where it's
possible
at.
Yeah, possible they could pull out 2/10 of an acre out of land use, I guess. That's a guess, though.
I'm just saying, I don't know. I'd like to know about how to handle land usage. You go back 5 years and you pay back taxes on it if it's in land use. Now, my question is, do you go back 5 years on 42 acres or you go back 5 years on an acre. You know, so I just want to know that. I just want to know that. And when you go back, it should be 10 years, we should change it, it's maybe 15 years. But anyway, I just want to know that. For information, I want to know it.
Isn't this a lease agreement with Verizon?
It is a lease, I believe it is, it's a leased parcel.
Then I don't know why it would matter, because the property hasn't been sold. That's what you're
Other than
talking
being
about.
developed.
Huh?
Change the use.
Yeah,
These might be good questions we could ask the applicant and her representative.
Yeah.
I don't know that Mr. Kretz and I know, or Mr. Walker and I know the answer to them,
I do
but
have one more question for you, just out of making sure all the documents are correct. I just do have one question, making sure all the documents are correct, it says property owner Susan M. Townsend, and then over here it says property owner statement, and they signed it, Susan Jones. But I mean, because it's a legal document, shouldn't it be consistent always with that? I don't know, I'm just saying, I don't want some kind of hiccup to come back later on the people, you know. If it's all legal, we got an attorney here, is it?
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, I
That's
wasn't
something
aware of the-
we will invite the representative.
Yeah.
When their opportunity comes up, we can address, but if she's legally changed her name, so let's say it's Sally Susan Smith, and she signs, you know, only partially, if her whole legal name is all three, then it would be legally binding. Like if
That's
I
all
was
I'm
just to
saying.
sign, like
It's a
Heather
legal
Wilson.
document, I want to make sure it's right for them as well as
Yeah, I mean,
everyone
but that's
else. I don't
something,
want something to come back.
The
These are also
applicant's
taken from the
representative could
county
definitely
records,
address
which
when your
may-
opportunity
we-
comes up, right? Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
we go on county records, and it may still be with the assessor's office as
Right.
being
Okay.
her old name and the new name. She can always submit well, I mean, I don't know, I don't know there's a
It
need to
doesn't,
submit anything.
I'm
'cause
looking
she's
after the applicant basically here. I want to make sure that these legal
Yeah.
documents are correct. I don't want something to come back later on.
Yeah, she can testify she's one of the same person.
Does the board have any other questions for Dave at this time? Because if not, then we'll allow the applicant to give their presentation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I don't have any other questions.
I suspect we'll have more after the applicant presents, but, so the applicant is here with their representative, and if you would like to come forward, you can present at this time as well, and then we'll open it up for public hearing.
Thank you all so much. Jonathan Yates, with Susan Townsend Jones.
Actually, it's Susan McClure Townsend.
I left off your maiden name. Susan got this property in 1999 from her mother-in-law, Rosie Townsend. Susan was first married to Bobby. He unfortunately passed away in '99. Bobby farmed this property throughout his life. And then recently, Susan has had her friend Buck Richardson, who has property next door. Buck's been farming it for soybean, or corn. He's got soybean out this year.
Yeah.
So this lady, Susan McClure Townsend Jones,
Susan and Elaine McClure Townsend Jones.
if you get married again,
I'll never get married.
so so the county property record card, when it was entitled to her by Miss Rosie, she was still a Townsend, because Bobby had just passed away. First and foremost, and she's going to talk a little bit about the taxes. I just have to say something. Working on this tower for Verizon, this gentleman over here to the left, Mr. Kretz, I think I asked 101 stupid questions to get through this process. He never laughed at me, but just his desire to help, his professionalism. You have a gem here, so I want to thank him. I also want to thank this lady. Exactly where Verizon needs to be to bring coverage out there. 41-acre property. A lot of folks, when we find the perfect property, they say, yeah, you can come on property. You go way in that corner next to someone. Susan was gracious about everything. She gave us good location there. We have to sort of stay out of the way of Buck Richardson because he's still got to farm it. This tower is a monopole. Towers come in a couple different flavors. You have the old style, what we call guide towers, where you get the wires going every which way. And Supervisor Williams, that's probably what you're thinking of. Someone told you 5 acres. When you have the guy wires, you have to run those wires out 300 to 400 feet in 3 directions. We're doing a monopole. What is a monopole? If you go up to Hardee's or Walmart, they have what they call a pylon sign. We're basically doing the same thing, except it's taller and the steel is incredibly thicker. With the monopole, you don't have to run those guy wires out. So the standard size for a monopole, the compound will be 50 by 50, and the lease area is 100 by 100, because we're not doing the guy wire. You get by on basically 10,000 square feet. So, Susan, thank you for offering your property. Thank you for being fair where you offered it, so we could more than meet all the setbacks. We're 1,020 feet from Warner Road. We're 765 to the rear, 415 to one side, 610. So in every part of this process, Dave and Susan have been wonderful to us. What does Verizon want to do? They want to improve coverage out there. You know, it's really not fair if I'm in Henrico County or Fairfax County or Loudoun County, your phone works everywhere. It's not the same in Middlesex. And we're trying to solve that problem. The facility is designed not just for Verizon, but for at least three additional broadband carriers, where we're hoping if Verizon comes, we want the competitors to come, because we want everyone's phone to work out there. What's that mean for folks? A lot of the country has been through an horrific event over the past 5 days. We had a Cat 4 storm come into the Big Bend of Florida, and then it proceeded up to western North Carolina, where it washed away the town of Chimney Rock. It put the town of Asheville with 24 to 28 inches of rain. And you know, a lot of folks, when they couldn't get out on their cell phone, that was a problem. The purpose of these phones, yeah, there are plenty of people just spending their time on the phone, and my son, what he's doing on that phone 22 hours a day, I don't know. But really where it becomes important is when folks want to reach out to a 911 first responder, whether it be fire, police, or EMS. And also, you have a Middlesex County emergency notification system. If bad weather's coming, versus going to pull it up on your computer or hope that it comes through in your landline, you get that Amber Alert on this phone, you know to get shelter. And if anything, Hurricane Helene has taught us, nowhere is safe. A Cat 4 comes into Big Bend of Florida, and we have hundreds of folks dead in the North Carolina mountains. So that's what we're trying to do here. Again, thank Dave, thank Susan. Oh, she's going to talk about her taxes. She wants to get this. She wants to get this very, very, very clear.
Mr. Williams, you're worried about my taxes. I had the opportunity, hold up. I had the opportunity to put it into the land use, which would reduce my taxes, and I opted not to do that. I pay full taxes on the 3 acres my trailer sits on and the other 42 acres. I have no reduction. There is nothing to pay me back or me to pay you back. I've been paying my fair share from the beginning of owning this property. And I do not see or foresee, and Wayne Jesse can tell you, this property has been in the family for generations.
I think it's over 100 years in the town.
Yes, and not to get emotional, this is all I have left of my husband. I have no intention of selling it, developing it. I lease it because Buck Richardson, it's a good land use for him to do his crops. He does double crop, soybeans one year, corn the next. So it's not really in the middle of the field. It's on the edge, surrounded by woods. And if I'm correct, they wouldn't even be accessing it from 602. It would be accessed from my property all the way around, which is where I've got the right of way to my trailer. So I just want to make it clear that I do not take a reduction in taxes on this property, have never taken it, could have, but chose not to. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, sister. We're here for any and all questions y'all may have.
Questions? Doesn't appear so. Thank you, thank you both for coming. Okay, so Mr. Jesse?
Yes, sir. Now we'll open
Public
it,
hearing, yeah.
a public hearing for the public to comment on special exception 2024-01.
I'll open the public comment. Anyone like to speak? None heard, I'll close public comment. Mr. Jesse?
I'll make a motion that we approve special exception 2024-01.
Accept, second it.
Motion made by Mr. Jesse, and second by Mr. Crittenden on 2024-01. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Bill Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Crittenden,
Yes.
Mr. Jesse,
Yes.
Mr. Don Harris.
Yes, special exception, application 2024-01-01 has been approved. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you all very much. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. We've jumped around so much. Somebody help me out. Where are we going now?
I think we're going to go back to the 3 PM meeting, finish that up, and then go into closed session, if that's all right, Mr. Chairman.
Administrator updates? Is
Yeah.
that what you're talking about?
Yeah, and I have a couple updates for you. One I'm going to need, well, really, a couple I'm going to need some guidance from y'all on. You have in your packet the draft timber bid. I've been working with the Department of Are you running, or you want me to? I'm sorry?
I was gonna drive it.
Oh, no, I got you. I was going to pull that up. Well, in fact, go ahead, Anne Marie. Take me to the RFP, or not RFP, but the bid. I'm going to pull that up in a second, but I got that up separate. Here you go. So I've been working with the Department of Forestry on this. In fact, you saw Alan bring in, they finished the forest stewardship plan today, and he brought it to the meeting, which will make a part of this, this bid. Okay. Yeah, let me go up. No. Okay, where am I? Where's the bid? Is that up? The draft, yeah. Yeah, that's Heather's. Okay, so what I opted to do, and the first thing I want to seek board guidance on is how we're conducting the timber sale. We didn't do a full timber cruise. We had it looked at by a professional and give a cursory estimate of what's marketable, what's not. You're familiar with that report. So what we thought is we would emulate a process that was done down in Brunswick County where they just basically put the property up for lump sum bid. We get a bid price in. Then it is my intention to invite Mr. John Reed back in and review those bids to see if we got a fair price. We may have to pay him a little bit for that. This in lieu of a full-on timber cruise. You will notice that the two properties together amount to about 34 acres. However, the harvestable area is 15 plus or minus acres. And I want to speak to that so the board understands why that is the way it is. When Dave and I went to the site, we started marking the property boundaries. And we think we got a pretty good mark on the boundaries in the front and along the sides. We did not mark this side, and I need to, let me get a better depiction of that. We did not mark this side here because the topography was a little hard to get to. But we have marked the buffers around the topographically sensitive areas, and we've marked the side boundaries where we're confident we're not going to be on an adjoining property owner. The eastern boundary was easy because there's a huge ravine there that you cannot miss that as the property boundary. So what that leaves us with is approximately about 14.6, 15 acres of marketable, harvestable timber, unless we want to authorize the logger to do a skid crossing of this fairly substantial wetland topographical feature to gain access to the rough 3.2 acres on the other side of that ravine. That's a 2-foot contour. It looks worse than it is in some areas. There's some really good property on the front, but there's also some very sensitive slopes where we don't want loggers. I don't think we want loggers on those slopes, and definitely not in those bottoms, because it would be very hard to contain erosion if they were to get on those side slopes. You have the draft forestry management plan in your packet. It's not in color. I know it's hard to see. But I did ask the state to go in there and take a look at it, because we have a forestry management plan on the airport property. I would presume we'd want one on all of our properties that we're going to consider active timbering on. And you get a sense of the streams and the springs that are in the bottom of those topographical features, those I won't call them canyons, but gorges. And that's going to be very hard for them to timber around. Now, forestry regulations allow them to timber within 50 feet of the stream. However, the topography of the site, the banks that you see with this 2-foot contour, they can't be within 50 foot of those streams. They'll be on those slopes, and we'll have an erosion nightmare. So what I have done is I prepared a bid to bid the harvestable properties and keep them out of the worst of those topographical areas. And that's what I've referenced in the lump sum bid. Now, if the board chooses, we can pay for a timber cruise. There's very good timber out there. Red oaks, 32 inches in diameter, really good trees. We could do that, or we could just have John Reed look at the bids and tell us if we're getting a fair price.
I like that.
I thought you might, because it's a little less investment on the front end. We have marked buffers on the front, so if it's done right, we probably won't be able to see much of the logging from the road. In fact, this little 1.2 area, it's semi-open. It's actually grown up with poplars and other things. This would be the logging access that I foresaw. And then when Alan and Lisa Deaton, Alan Sutherland and Lisa were on the site, they actually said, yeah, you're thinking just like we were, have them access along that strip and then come into a log deck and loading area back here in the back in the middle of their harvest area. So that's kind of the plan as it is now. The bid is written to select timber. Dave and I have went in there. We'll probably go in there again and mark this buffer along this main gully a little bit better before the bid goes on the street. We're going to offer it to any logger that's listed with the State Department of Forestry. We're going to advertise it in the paper, of course. We're going to invite the loggers to bid it and invite them to tour the property. My only requirement is they let us know before they go on the property so we know someone's there. We've got the trees flagged that we want to save. We're probably going to flag some more to be a little bit more selective. Got some really good advice from Alan and Lisa, and that is, use as good a method as you can trying to save the trees that you don't want cut, but make sure you provide a mix of trees. They noticed I was marking mostly beech trees. She said, you got to find this for beech trees. I'm like, yeah, I kind of got to find this for beech trees. You want to mix it up a little bit more, Matt, so I'm going to mix it up a little bit more. So there you go. If y'all are comfortable with it, I'd like to make the bids due back on October 24th. If I can get it in the paper and get it out to people this week, that gives people time to bid it. Now, if you think that's too soon, we can make it due in November.
What's your thought, Wayne?
I'm sorry? For this week? Yeah, but I can get it in next week. I'm going to send an invite to all of the loggers on the state website, and that's going to be most of them. Yep.
Oh, I ain't gonna put the makeup. Well, I think I was in executive session.
It felt
No,
like it.
I'm just looking, I'm just saying, a lot of times, when you cut it, and then, like you say, even though you have some screening, another 3 or 4 years, you don't even know where they cut.
That's right.
I'm looking at behind my house, that's why. They had hundreds and hundreds of acres. And sometimes they do let them select cut close to the stream, but they don't cut them off, and they let them pick really the real big ones sometimes, select pick near the stream, but you got a big buffer.
Mhm.
But,
You won't be able to tell it from the road.
right, yeah, that's what your buffer, you won't tell from the road.
And when we discussed it with the EDA briefly, we said we were leaving the front fairly wooded to buffer it off,
Right.
and we're gonna be further back there, and it was primarily, I think, the frontage the board wanted to talk to the EDA about anyway.
I just personally think it's good to go ahead and roll with it, go for bid.
I would highly encourage the board, if you get an opportunity, go down there, walk in those woods. They're 100-year-old forests. It's beautiful back there, really
Yeah,
is.
we walked it, before they purchased it, the land back a few years, I walked it.
Yeah.
With somebody, I don't even know who I walked it with.
Probably Charlie.
You good with this process he's talking about, Timberlake?
Hmm?
You good with the process he's?
Oh, yeah, I'm good with that. I'm good with that. It looks good. Yeah, it looks good,
Okay, well, then we'll proceed. That's what I needed to hear.
So you're good with the return date of October
I want to go
24th?
back there, but
Yeah, well, we can. We'll let it dry up a little bit. We'll go
what's your
back there.
question?
Matt asked the board for guidance on the return date. Do you want to give them through November, or do you wish the bids to be due back at the end of October?
If I do October 24th, I got time to make the November board meeting.
Or do you want to, so that's the question for you, gentlemen. Do you have any preference on how long the bid remains open?
I think whatever normal customary would be. Unless the EDA may have some input on that, they have to get the land up.
Well, I don't think we lose much by pushing it to November. And then y'all will have a decision on it in December and go from there. Yeah. Okay, I'll make it November. Okay, I can change that. I'll make it, say, November 21st or 28th. Well, 28th is Thanksgiving, isn't it?
Yeah. So do the 21st.
Yeah, do what, yeah, okay. All right. All right. Good on that. Go back to page 1. All right. Okay, so in your packet, you have your strategic retreat and strategic plan documents. I gave y'all 3 options of really good people. Reached out to Ted Povar and a couple other people to get some suggestions. 2 of which come from Weldon Cooper, and one of them comes from the Berkeley Group, who does this type of work. And it's the same situation as previous discussions. Berkeley Group is under a cooperative procurement contract with PDC, and they can come work for us. We'd probably interview them, get a rough idea of costs, see if they want to do it. The gentleman that did the board's last retreat, when we had group facilitator come in, is with Weldon Cooper. And that's, oh God, I can never, Charles Hargrave.
Yes.
Hargrove, yeah. And please don't ask me to recommend any of them. I know them. They can all do the job. And I wouldn't want to recommend one over the other because I think they're all equally qualified. It's just whatever your preference is.
You say the one's already tied in with the,
The Berkeley Group,
Yeah.
and that's who we're also gonna get to, give some, is it not? With the, solar.
we don't have to go out for bid if you use them?
I don't think so. It's
You don't
a
have to go out to
cooperative
bid.
agreement.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's going to fall under small purchase as well.
Yeah, we got you 3 quotes.
I'd ask them for a price, and if it was me, we're doing a lot of business with them. Say which they would put- I'd ask them for a price then.
Berkeley?
Yeah, so we don't have to go out for bid, and we're already doing a lot of business with them. I would expect them to give us a good price. I'd tell them that too.
Okay. Well, and y'all are comfortable with their scope of work and their previous work product? Okay. All right, very good. Well, then, that's that. All right. Just got my marching orders on that one. Want to discuss the PDC meeting briefly, if I can, because I know y'all are strapped for time. But a couple of things came up at the PDC meeting I think it's timely for the board to hear, because you'll probably have a scope agreement, work agreement coming forward in November on some of these. In the first one, in your packet, you'll notice that it's time to prepare the all hazards mitigation plan update again. We have historically worked with the PDC as our regional planning entity to perform this work for us, with us. Dave Kretz and David Lehman both participate in that. This is a requirement of FEMA. If we have this plan updated and keep it updated, if we have, God forbid, a natural disaster similar to what's happening in North Carolina and Tennessee, the FEMA truck comes and we get relief. If we don't have this plan up to date, the FEMA truck doesn't come. That's the way Louis explains it in the meeting. We want to keep this plan up to date. And you'll notice that Louis has got a grant for the PDC to conduct the work. We look at all of the sub-recipients of this grant's contribution to be about $8,194. That's split 6 ways, 6 different counties and 3 different towns. Reason I'm bringing this up tonight is not to get y'all to take action on it. I'm fine with consensus, but I got to know so we can tell the PDC if it's our intention to be in the coalition of the willing, so they can get a final work product to us and count us as a participant. But roughly $1,100 is what it's going to be. Now, I will say this, because Louis said it at the meeting. Last time, Matthews chose to go on their own, and then decided at the last minute it was beyond their skill set, and then they tried to fold back in. So they had to unpack everything and pack it back up, and it was hopefully, it was cumbersome, let's use that word, to include them after the fact, after they had opted out. I recommend very strongly on this and the water supply plan that we work with the PDC. Yeah, so if we are okay with that, I can tell Louis that, yeah, we're in a coalition of willing on the all hazards. And it's pretty much the same with the water supply plan. Jim Nagy, I reached out to Jim, and he and I both attended the local government administrators meeting where we found out about, well, it's time to do a water supply management plan. This is a recent code change. Good news is we have until, I think it's October 9th, 2029 to turn in the final product, but it's going to be a very involved planning effort where we have some options. DEQ created new regional entities, which you will see on the back of your sheet in your packet. For some reason, we're not lumped in with the Middle Peninsula. We are lumped in with Essex and Matthews County. And they've carved the other portions of the Middle Peninsula and gave them to New Kent and York. We discussed it the other night. We also discussed it at the administrators meeting, and there is the election for us to all elect to have the PDC do our regional plan as we're accustomed to, and not try to partner with counties on our own. That is definitely my recommendation. It sounds like all the other counties are going to opt to do that, with maybe the exception of Gloucester. They may partner with York and James City County, because they're a dual member of that planning district commission too. So with the exception of Gloucester, I think the majority of the other towns and counties want to go with Middle Peninsula on this product too. This is something Jim and the Water Authority will be a part of, the county will be a part of. Louis does not have any information on whether they're going to get a grant to help do the work, but if I know them, they'll try to find it. And we'll have a better idea of what our component cost would be once we have an idea of the coalition of the willing in the counties that are going to go in on it. And he has a better idea of costs. I told him preliminarily that we would probably want to be with the PDC, but that I would check with the board before I commit us. I would recommend we be a coalition of the willing and get that scope of work and get final costs from the PDC to do that work as well. Okay, that's all I need. And now, back to the other stuff. I need my glasses for this one. I think we still got it pulled up. In your packet is yet another option of, I think Keith Hodges had alluded to it. Where did my YouTube video go? Did we cancel that?
Just minimize. It was there.
It was. Oh, no, I'll just do it again. So I have, real quick, a YouTube video that I want to play the board, and it kind of dovetails on what Keith was talking about earlier this evening. It's about Septic John. We watched the video similar to this at the PDC meeting, and it is yet another new technology that is emerging to handle sewer. And Kevin, if you can get the sound going, I'd appreciate it. Yeah, sorry about that. I'll pause that. All right, go ahead. I'll stop moving it. So I know, what's that? Well, yeah, give me a sec. I don't need 1 by 3. So just real quick, just to introduce this, there's 2 technologies that are in play now down at Captain Sinclair. One of them we've already discussed. I call it the magic box, which is going to give people in high water table areas a valuable alternative to just having very expensive engineered systems with high water table. And this is a new one. Now, this outfit is out of Arkansas, and they're moving into our area, and I think the PDC's hosting them to show a pilot project of yet another example of how small residential sewer can be handled in the county, especially in areas that are in high water table areas, out on the water and whatnot. I know Wayne and Reggie and I have expressed a desire to go to Captain Sinclair to tour that facility and see these components. Yet to hear back from Lou William about when we can do that. We're still trying to arrange it. And if the rest of the board is interested, we will make that happen, and I'll let the media know that the board in their entirety is going to go down to the Sinclair area to tour this. Yeah, it's very impressive stuff. The technology is changing, and it's going to be exciting times. So I'm going to just play this and.
Whether you're looking to buy a remote property or build on land where a septic can't be installed, EcoJohn has the perfect solution for you. Septic John is a revolutionary compact wastewater system that can be installed where septic fails. Septic John evaporates all wastewater into sterile ash and operates with standard fixtures and plumbing. It's compact and quick to install. Plus, with EcoJohn, you can build anywhere. To learn more, contact EcoJohn today.
It's a sales pitch for sure, but the state's already on board with this. What impresses me about both of these technologies that we have deployed down there or will be deploying is the state's already on board, wants to permit them yesterday and get them going.
Now, when you say states on board,
Yep. Health Department and DEQ.
okay, you answered my question.
Yeah. Yeah, and that came up at the commission meeting too, Bill, because it surprises people like me. I'm a victim of my experience. I've been doing this for 30 years, and I've always heard no from DEQ on most everything. But they seem to be very, very eager to get these things out there and working. I mean, Reggie, what was your takeaway from it? I mean, it was all positive at that meeting, from what I heard.
Yeah, it was all positive, and, we got places in Mills County that we were getting sued soon, and, I don't think it was that expensive neither. Because I think it was something like 4 or 8 houses could get on one of them, I think.
Yeah, residential waste, and $10,000 to $25,000 if my memory serves, depending on how robust a situation is. And what surprises me is, after the incineration, the ash you spread in your yard. They're as on board with that as they are releasing the effluent from the other one right into your garden patch.
Oh, you got a loop system too, right?
Your loop system, yeah. So I think it's something that we need to pay particular attention to, because we got a lot of low areas in the county with septic tanks and drain fields, and this could be a very positive alternative.
So you're saying the Health Department and DEQ both are giving it the thumbs up?
Seems so, yes, sir. And that's why I want to get down there and visit these, because it almost sounds too good to be true. because I've never known them to just say, oh, yeah, well, this is new technology, let's get on board with this, without looking at it for 20 years.
And the DEQ's got a law enforcement division too.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
So-
seen them.
That was the packet. I wanted to pull that up so y'all could see it. And then I just got a few quick things. We talked briefly about interviews. We got pretty good candidates. We just need to get the committee together, get the gang together and start some interviews. And if y'all could, I think Anne Marie sent out an email today. If we can get a consensus of when the committee can get together, we can invite the top 3, top 4, top 5, however many ever you want to interview, and we can get that coordinated.
Do we want to try to do them all in one day?
We can. We just got to stage it out. I'd like to allow for 30 minutes between the two to allow for discussion and notes.
How are you?
And their availability as well. So
Excuse
remember,
me?
we also have to consider their availability. So that's
Right,
my
no,
other
yeah,
concerns.
I'd say you'd be lucky if you could get them all on the same day.
yeah. Would you be okay with that? Is that too much?
Yeah, no, I'm fine with that, I think. Just depends on what day we're doing it, and who's gonna be involved in that process.
Well, so far, it's you,
Yeah.
it's Bill,
Yeah.
it's Greg,
Greg
Jim
Chambers.
Nagy,
And
Yeah.
you?
Heather, and myself.
Okay. Okay.
That'll scare them. All of us together. That's what.
Heather's there to make sure we don't ask anything illegal,
Okay.
which we never do.
I take it you and Jim got the questions pretty much where you want them?
We've got some sample questions, and we can, I mean, if y'all want to meet and discuss the applicants first and then rank them, we can do that, and then we can go over some of the sample questions that we have.
I'm fine with the 3 that I think have been floated, whatever. Top
Okay.
3. what I've
Yeah,
seen
I'd
on
be
the
all right
email.
with that too.
Well, let us know who's y'all's top 3 so we can get alignment. I think it's going to mesh very well.
I think there was okay, I'll respond to the email.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, I'll look at it too.
And I would like to have their resumes printed out for us.
Yeah, we can do that. Print out a whole packet of them
That'd be great.
as I look across and,
Sorry, of course. Of course I'll do that.
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, well then, moving on, we'll hear,
Hold on. So when are we talking about doing this?
okay.
In October?
I would recommend
Next week.
next week or the 21st, 22nd. Those seem to be dates that everybody's available. Well, I say everybody. On our side, the staff side, everybody seems to be available those days.
Would that whole week is bad there, the 14th through the,
Well, I'm on vacation. Yep, and I think Heather's on vacation this Thursday and Friday. So next week is pretty open with the exception of Monday. I've got,
I
okay,
thought Monday's not a go anymore.
I got doctor's appointments. Yep.
And I'm in court.
I'm okay next week, except for, never mind.
Well,
Well, that's next on the
that's
decision.
next on the list.
So we're looking at October 10th, and then we were looking at, what were the other dates Anne Marie gave? Well, she gave
You're off Thursday and Friday, aren't you?
of this week.
Oh,
Next week is, the 8th or the 9th, would y'all be available? Those are 2 days, those would be perfect. What about the 8th?
Afternoon of the 9th, I'm going to be on a tour of
Well,
the
October 8th.
beach property.
Okay, the 8th.
Yep.
October 8th. How does that look for you, Bill? That's a Tuesday.
yeah, I'm pulling all my stuff up.
You're good? Are you good on,
Yes.
so October 8th, Anne Marie.
Hold on, I'm checking Greg, I'm trying to find Greg's schedule because he did update me.
Oh, did he? Okay, I didn't see
Yeah, I
his.
just can't
I
find the
think he
emails.
gets back from his cruise this week.
But he has we're not the only thing in his world too.
Right.
I could have sworn he sent me something today.
Well, it's not something we have to keep the whole board here tonight trying to figure it out, is it? I think it's only.
Yeah, we'll go with that, or the 10th
Yeah.
as backup, 8th or 10th.
Okay.
We'll try to get as many of them on one day as practicable.
Oh, but your goal is 3, am I correct? The top 3, okay.
We'll call them the first 3 and see where we go from there. How about that?
Okay.
And you'll send us y'all's 3? Don?
Yeah, I thought he was gonna concur to the last email I saw, the 3 that were on there, I was.
Okay.
Be about the choice as well. But
All right, we just want to make sure we get the right 3 that everybody's
Right, I'm with
Well,
right on.
I'd say to make it easy, the email that listed the top 3 from whoever made that recommendation, right?
I think it was a conglomeration, or we
don't-
may have
Have you
just
got that
listed
email
them.
by chance?
I don't have a
I was
top
going to say,
three.
could we recommend this, because otherwise we might want to go into closed session? Could I ask Bill and Dawn to respond to the email that Emery sent, please?
Okay.
Yeah, just give us your 3, and if
If you're
there's.
good with ditto, just say ditto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Because I think what she sent out was just a list of all of them. I
But
don't
then
think
there's someone
anybody.
who responded on there, their
They did,
top
yes,
3.
they did.
I think it was Jim.
Yeah,
Yeah.
somebody.
That's
I've been
right.
intentional keeping my recommendations to myself because I
I'll
don't want
probably
to influence
respond. I agree with
anybody. Right.
Thank you.
Okay.
So that was an excellent segue with the.
You know
the-
what?
Go ahead.
I'm responding of whatever Jim, the top 3, we'll go with them. And if we need to add from the others, because I really haven't studied that close, we may add. I'd start with those first 3 and let's see where we go. How about that?
Yes, sir, that sounds wonderful. So we're going to start with the first 3.
And how long would you like for an interview? 1 hour each?
Yes, ma'am. I
With a
believe-
half hour in between, at
Well-
least?
Here's what we've done in the past, because I know we like to talk and we like to ask questions.
No
2
doubt.
hours.
No, not that much, but allow an hour 15, hour 30, and then a little bit of leeway in between. So you usually block off about 2 hours per applicant.
Okay.
And if you run longer, then you've got less time to talk about the applicant after they leave. But you kind of want to keep the applicants separated as best you can. And not have them sitting there waiting in the foyer with one another, unless y'all want to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Retreats.
Okay.
Y'all have your candidates there. We have, I think, the one that y'all want to work something out with. Probably not going to get them October, November. It's probably going to be December, January, because they're booked up. My dad found that out, and that's both sides. So is there any particular days in December and January y'all want to think about for a retreat? And I'm
I
going to
just soon
look
get
at,
into January, because December get kind of busy. You'd rather do it December?
well, we can do it anytime you would like. It's just, I want to be able to tell them a date that they can bank on. Now, they can do a lot of interviews and discussions online, but for the actual meeting of the board and the retreat, they'd probably want to be here present and not do that online.
In person.
Yep.
I like January myself, but if you stuck on December.
I do too.
I was just thinking of the, we don't want to, it's like the beginning of the budget session, all that sort of thing, so.
I'm going to work on your budget calendar for next month, and you'll have that. We're starting a capital improvements plan. I'll segue into that later. We normally have the strategic budget work session on Friday the 3rd. It's the first Friday of the year. Do you want to think about the following Friday for a retreat on the 10th,
Of what?
January 10th?
January 10th?
Yeah. I was pushing it out a ways, but I can give them a 9th or the 10th as a target date.
I'd be okay with that. Are you okay with that? You, okay?
The 3rd, I think I have a problem with, but I'm okay with the 10th.
All right, cool.
What I may do is invite them here for the 3rd, just for an introduction, and then that may give them time to call you and chat with you beforehand, before the actual retreat. But we'll see. I'll defer to their guidance on how they want to conduct that. But we'll use the 9th and the 10th as target dates.
Okay? Yeah.
Okay? All right, that's that.
All right, what else?
Well, we talked about the solar field.
No, we're going back to that. It's in closed session.
Well, I know. Emery and I are starting work on the capital budget, so Dave's not going to be waiting on us. Go ahead, Dave.
One, not bad.
Yeah, go ahead.
We have a CIP committee that we've had for years. It's been the same committee. We have R.D. Johnson. I'm trying to remember. Deb Butler's on it this year, I believe. But Bill Cawthorn has traditionally been on that committee, and I've been trying to contact him. He's kind of gone dark silent on me. So, and I know he was on the EDA and got off of that, so we may have to nominate somebody out of the planning commission at the next meeting. We might have to call a meeting just to do that, because I'm gonna need somebody for we're in October. Our scoring happens about the middle of November. That way I get the document ready for the December meeting for planning commission. That way it puts it on schedule for y'all's January meeting. So we may have to do that. I think traditionally, it's been 2 members outside the planning commission and 3 inside the planning commission inside. If the board has somebody that they would care to put on there, they can think of somebody that would be good.
Was Bill on there as a representative of the EDA?
I think they've had 2 at-large members. Ray Kateski's on it.
Yeah,
And Ray's still, well, as far as I know, Ray's still willing to participate, because he's working on our comp plan committee too. So it's just, Bill is going, I've tried to email him, call him, and haven't gotten any response. So it kind of scares me. If I start getting close to that date when I need a committee, I don't have a person to fill it. And if I'm after a meeting, whether it's this one or the planning commission, I might be short a person.
so you'd need a board to appoint somebody in November?
That would be great, if they have somebody that they want to consider. I don't know if you guys could put somebody
Is
together.
that by district, or
Pardon me?
is that by
It's at
district?
large.
At
Not
large?
necessarily, it's at large, they're at large numbers.
Well, let's do this first, Dave. Let's reach out to Bill Cawthorn and make certain he doesn't want to be on it. I mean, I know he's gotten off everything else,
Yeah,
but, you already have him on there, and if you haven't made contact before we just replace him, let's reach out. We'll
Mhm.
ride down to his house if we have to.
yeah, I've emailed him and called him. I'll call him again and email him again,
Okay. Well, we know where he lives.
so, yeah,
We'll go visit.
yeah, so.
And we'll
But
report
he-
back on that
But
and
Bill's
see.
had some health problems too.
Yeah.
He hasn't been able to participate, he's had limited participation the past couple of years, and,
Yeah.
Maybe it's just time,
Well, we'll talk to him.
maybe it's
Yeah.
just time.
Out of respect, I think we need to talk to
I
him.
agree with that approach.
Yep. All right, so last but not least, and I'm weaning this down because we got a lot to go.
Hold on, I want to ask Dave a question.
Sure.
On the CIP plan, does it address solar farms
No, this is
anywhere?
No, the CIP plan's your capital
Improvements plan.
improvements,
Right.
these are projects.
Yeah, I know that.
So, no, it would not, it's not gonna address solar.
Just curious.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless you were building a solar, facility for your own good, and it costs, it hit
I got
the
you.
threshold, it
Okay.
should be in that, not
All right.
to say it can't be.
Okay. A lot of this can wait, so I'll just cover the stuff that probably shouldn't. We got a request from the juvenile domestic relations judge and clerk to afford extra office space at the courthouse. This was back in August. The judge, the circuit court judge, our new circuit court judge, Judge DeFord, is involved. They had a meeting, the sheriff, the judges, including JDR, and they determined that before they would start realigning office spaces, tearing down walls or asking for us to tear down walls to expand spaces or add doors here or take this one away from that one, that a space needs study be conducted with the courthouse. There's been a number of rumors over the years about the basement courtroom needing to be renovated and put into use, which would be quite an expensive endeavor because possibly a judge may want it. They may want to house their operations in our facility as opposed to down in Gloucester. And I think Judge DeFord was wise in having a meeting of their team over there to kind of discuss holistically what the future holds for the courthouse. As a result of that meeting, he is asking for a space needs study where they can look at JDR's requirements, General District, Circuit Court, the Commonwealth's Attorney, and the other needs that are evident in the courthouse. I am meeting with the judge on October the 3rd to discuss some of their discussions and recommendations from that meeting that they had with their team. And I think it's going to be where we will want to do a space need study before we start aligning spaces or realigning offices for any specific
County
requests.
would pay for that?
I'm sorry?
County would pay for that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We,
Estimate it?
we'll know when we find out the extent of the space needs study. I have not met with the judge yet. We've had, he's had a court docket that wasn't, he's had a court docket that didn't allow him to meet with me one day because they were busy. And then one day I was sick, and we're just now getting together on October 3rd. So, but yes, the county will pay for it. The county owns the building. It's a county building. It's our property. We're required to pay for it. I'm really happy in a way, and I'll say it that way, that the judge opted to go this route because I think looking at it holistically and making sure we cover all the needs instead of piecemeal is a better way to go. It also aligns better with our capital projects and capital improvement plan and next year's budget process, as opposed to coming in mid-year and saying, oh, we need $10,000 to do this, that, and the other. We'll look at the whole building, make sure we address all the needs, and come in a little later.
So let me ask this question.
Go ahead.
When you do a study like that and you're evaluating everything, as opposed to just what do we need to do to fix this right now because it seems to be a problem, which is where it started.
Correct.
When you do a study like that, now all of a sudden you put a bright light on everything that's not there that somebody wants.
That's indeed a possibility.
I'm telling you, that's going to be the way it works.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if that study didn't come out and the judge says, oh, well, I think we need to do this and we need to do this. And that's the only problem I have with a study like that, a comprehensive study.
Right.
When you do that.
Understood. And that is indeed a possibility. What it does is it gives us the ability, if that is the case, a little bit more time to plan as opposed to just react to things.
I get that.
And it gives us a little bit more thought.
I get that. But with
Yeah.
every other project that we have going on in the world, here in Middlesex,
Yeah.
Sheriff's Department, potential renovation of the high school, marina that we
Right.
haven't even talked about here. And I'm going to be right on my time. I told Ann, I said I'll be home about 11. But anyway.
Okay.
But
Now you've given us a challenge. We'll beat
And
that.
I don't care about the comprehensive survey, fine, but I don't want to then be somebody want to say, okay, this is, the judge to say, this is what I want done, and I need it done by 2027. That's a problem for Middlesex County, if that happens. You follow me?
Yeah, I do. And we have a certain limited ability to say no.
That's,
I want to be clear, I say that.
question was, how can we say no, or can we justify it with our comprehensive plan that we got this going on, this going on, this going, we can't start that, Mr. Judge, until this. I doubt that's going to be the case.
Well, I hope not, Don.
But that's what you open yourself up
Well,
for
we
that.
don't have a whole lot of choice. So and if we can, we can talk about that offline.
We
I think
can.
it would be better to talk about that offline.
We can.
I do think, and you can hold me to this, I think this is going to be the way to go. And ultimately, I think it's going to solve a lot of other issues that we're having. And let me illuminate on that just a little bit, illuminate that whole aspect. One of the things that JDR wants to do is bring their records up from Gloucester that belong in Middlesex, because they're Middlesex clients.
Yeah.
Those records are very heavy, the files. The space that they had originally wanted, our building inspector told me straight up, he said, Matt, you need to bring Wally Wilson in and look at this to see the weight that's going to be on the floor there, because I can't certify that the weight isn't too much for the floor to handle.
Right.
Having the space needs study nails a lot of this other stuff down too.
Okay.
Ultimately, I think it's going to work to the county's benefit having that.
Okay.
Now, you can hold me
I will
accountable
hold
for
you
that
to it. You
if
can
I'm
guarantee
wrong.
that.
I think it's actually a more holistic way of, okay, instead of piecemealing this, we're going to listen to everybody's needs and we're going to do what's best for all of us, and instead of just reacting to one.
And I would be opposed to it,
Yeah.
whatever comes out on the study. My point is, when are you gonna implement it? How much is it gonna cost? And how does it affect the other costs that we have with major projects here in the county?
It's my intention to, well, we've already started drafting the RFP for the architectural engineering services. This is something we'd probably want to get our engineer involved into once we get them selected. And we'll have to go out for RFP for that, because I have a feeling it will cost a little bit more than what our small purchases would allow. I would be surprised if it didn't, but we'll see. And I want to make sure I meet the judge's requirements and needs.
I got you.
Yeah. And I think they've been reasonable on this. I got a good, digging a hole here, but I got a good feeling
Okay.
that it's not going to end up into be a grandiose affair. And the reason I can say that is because one of the things that Bushy and I both were a little concerned about is maybe there's going to be a judge that wants to renovate the basement now. Well, at the preliminary meeting, that did not seem to be the case.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with that and be a little optimistic.
All right. Good.
That's the main things that I wanted to talk to the board about. You'll probably have an RFP in front of you in November, and hopefully we'll have some game plan on the engineers by then, and this will be just one other effort. And
Okay.
the rest of the stuff can wait till November. Thank you.
So town Urbana, you wait till next go-round?
Well, yeah, the Oyster Festival. The town approached us to try to replace some of the street signs that were missing prior to the Oyster Festival. I have told Dwayne to make that a priority, along with going back and checking our county docks. We've had significant high tides. Most of the county docks have been underwater. You know what happens when that happens? Boards come loose, and we have issues. And whenever there's low tides, people will sneak out there on the docks, and there could be boards missing and whatnot. So that's a priority, along with the street signs, and removing the vegetation from the spoils center in Deltaville. Those are your three big priorities for buildings and grounds right now. That was it. That couldn't wait, because we're endeavoring to get those signs up.
And you guys all know, because the town came in and talked about the DMV Select. We still are waiting on some information on that before we can even talk about it any more seriously. One being where their office is gonna be, and what's the other,
The response from the DMV
yeah,
director.
yeah.
Ted texted me during our meeting this afternoon, and he has not heard back from him yet.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
and that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right, wonderful. All right, where are we, Ms. Lewis?
You're on the county attorney update, and I would say I do not have anything outside of my staff report at this time, gentlemen.
Okay. Unfinished and new business. Anybody got anything on that? Everybody good? Oh, okay. Yeah, did we talk about a tentative date on that?
21st or 22nd. Yeah. And I'll try to have that scheduled tour of the Gloucester facility before then. Just fluid on that. In fact, I'm gonna text them right now.
How's Monday, the 21st?
Or 22nd.
You good? All right,
If Monday's good, can we,
okay.
what time? 9, 10,
What's y'all's pleasure?
in the afternoon? Which do you prefer?
I'd rather do it in the morning too.
Okay, so 9?
So 9, 10.
It's on Monday.
Yes, sir.
You as staff, y'all want it till 10 o'clock, things happen over the weekend.
Yeah, I was going to say 10 o'clock would be great, but
Okay, all right.
And unless
Okay.
y'all ask for additional information, I think we've given you everything we have to give. Unless you want something different, let us know, and we'll try to make that available.
so
Okay.
October
This
21st
is-
at 10 a.m., Shanae, for a work session to discuss sewer.
And this is more for y'all to discuss and come to some conclusion.
All right, matters presented by the board. Anybody got anything?
I'm having to go to a, well, football game. Y'all know who Middlesex Mustangs are? I happened to attend flag football game, Middlesex Mustangs. And at first, they were just getting off. There's a lot of people putting in a lot of time to try to make it work. And after I was there for a little bit, it kind of started reminding me of the old days when you got together in someone's yard or something, you were playing two-hand touch football and everything. By the time I left there, I was like, I really appreciate what the people are doing. I apologize for not taking the time to get some of their names and recognize them, but I think they're trying to do something really good for the youth. I don't see any of them getting torn up. They had children from other counties. They had girls and boys both playing, and everyone seemed to be fine with it. And some of the coaches were really, really into making sure everything was correct. And I really was impressed with what they were trying to do.
Which age group?
I think it stops at 13, I believe, something like that. Yeah, right down at yeah, they sure did. And also, when I went with the Middlesex Foundation, now, first thing is they want to make perfectly clear that they do not want to step on any toes, any way, shape, fashion, or form. But they want it to be known that if they thought that the board thought it was something they could do to help with the cafetorium down there, that they would be willing to look and help in any kind of way that the board thought they could.
Okay, good.
So, but they made it perfectly clear. They know they've got committees and stuff and everything already in place. They don't want to step on any toes, but just that they were there if you need.
Okay.
So.
Cool. Okay, I think we're back to the closed session, right?
You have one more public comment, I think. Don't we have one more? You do. We are likely going to take action after the closed session. So you can either do the public comment now or after we come back out. Which y'all's pleasure? You want to do it now?
Yes.
Okay.
Larry asked me to let him know if he'll take action.
Okay. All right, I'll open up the public comment. Anne Marie, anybody on the list?
Nobody has submitted anything.
Okay. All right, I will close public comment.
And thank you. And with that, Mr. Chairman, we need a motion to reconvene in closed session pursuant to Virginia Code Sections 2.2-3711A3 and A8. This is for the board to discuss the acquisition of real property for a public purpose and to discuss the disposition of county-owned property for a public purpose or negotiating in an open meeting would adversely affect our bargaining position and negotiating strategy, and to consult with legal counsel about said acquisition and said disposition and the procedures related thereto.
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Jesse.
Second.
Second by Mr. Crittenden. We are now in closed session.
Okay, so we just need to finish.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. Roll call.
Oh, you got her on one, didn't you?
Mr. Bill Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Crittenden,
Yes.
Mr. Jesse.
Yes.
Mr. Williams. Mr. Don Harris.
Yes, now we're in closed session.